Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Ho ho ho, Merry Christmas. It's Ozicar's Tin Top Christmas Cup from Phillip Island. This is a very exciting Christmas event for us here live on SimSpeed TV, and it's got a bit of tradition going back with it. It's the 9th Tin Top Cup and another Christmas edition. We've got multiple models of car bopped to work together, and we'll see which car will come out on top at Phillip Island as we have ourselves a merry Ozicar end-of-year event. Great to have you. I'm David Haynes with Brandon Stuck, Daniel Yeaman in our production. We love Phillip Island, and hopefully, Brandon, we love tin tops and we love Christmas.
Yeah, certainly do, mate. Always happy to have a Christmas go-around, and glad that I'm being part of this one here for the Aussie Tin Top Christmas Cup. Looking forward to this one around the iconic Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit.
A great place for a summer getaway, perhaps a little cold and chilly in winter, but that's how the Penguins like it. That's the two things that this island, 3 hours drive out of Melbourne, is known for. This Grand Prix racetrack that's hosted MotoGP, V8 supercars, and all sorts over the years, and also the Penguins.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic layout this is, and of course we're looking forward to seeing how 4 different classes of cars fly around this Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit. Going to be amazing to see what the amount of cars we have here tonight, and an absolutely fantastic circuit here.
High speed, high slipstreaming might be key for the cars that we are going to have today. 4 options for our competitors.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we got a Mustang, we have a Clio, we have the 86 and the MX-5. All great cars here, and we'll certainly see what the BOP will be here. You can see down at the circuit here, very fast, very flowing, especially on the back section there between Miller Corner all the way up towards Lukey Heights before the heavy braking area down into MG. Looking forward to seeing how the 4 cars go, the 4 different classes of cars go here tonight.
I'm very interested to watch the Toyota GR86. We're fresh off the back of a significant iRacing update, and one of the key changes has been a whole handful of parameters of the Toyota GR86 Cup car. Most people seem to say it's an improvement. It's certainly far less likely to roll over than it was before. The center of gravity is lower, the springs are different. It's got a bit more poke in a straight line. That was always one of the things, that it would get out-dragged here at Phillip Island by the Mazda MX-5s, but then it would corner significantly better with its race-tuned suspension, with its Continental slick tires, with its big rear wing. But now I think you do get to stretch the legs of the 2.4 litre flat 4-cylinder the GR86 has got. On paper, it always had more horsepower than the MX-5, but the drag was a bit much. That seems to have been changed.
Yeah, I seem to have also had a bit of luck myself with more luck in the MX-5 versus the 86, that's for sure. But here we can see here, cars are split into 2 classes. So class 1, we will have the Mustang, with BOP with minus 4% in power, 40% fuel tank restriction. The 86 with a minus 5% in power and a 25% fuel tank restriction. Class 2, Renault Clio, 30% fuel tank, and Mazda MX-5, 35% fuel tank. And look at that format there, qualifying just the one lap for the 10 minutes and then a 1 hour 45 minute race to come for the action.
Be a safety car randomly somewhere in the middle of this race. That could definitely tip some drivers to think about trying to front load some of their pit stops, depending on exactly how that works, and different fuel tank sizes and then different restrictions of it across all of the cars. The Toyota GR86 has a gigantic 80 litre fuel cell, way bigger than the road car would have. The Mustang, I believe, has the road car size fuel tank of about 55 litres. Of course, then that's trimmed down here. Clio and the MX-5 are the same as well, so that's why it's a 25% fuel tank size for the GR86, because for inexplicable Toyota Gazoo Racing North America reasons, they gave a sprint racing car, cup car, a gigantic fuel cell.
Yeah, certainly. We'll be seeing how these restrictions come into play here as we take a look now at our screens here, looking at some of the qualifying action, or some of the practice action coming through at the moment. And okay, hello. Exit stage right. Thank you very much. Let's see one of the Mustangs there. As we take a look back at the MX-5 down here. MX-5, of course, one of the most well-liked cars on the sim. I've had some great races in an MX-5. That's for sure. Absolutely love these things. Racing around the track here, get some really close door-to-door action in an MX-5 here on iRacing. You can see now coming out of turn 4, there's one of the 86s there. Getting a little loose. 24 trying to make its way onto a lap here. It looks like it's just come out of MG. So coming through the final corner here, down the front straightaway.
Yeah, almost everyone has completed now their one qualifying lap. Craig Fraser is the exception. I think he's the only driver out on track that hasn't banked one. And is that the beginning of a flying lap right now? I think it might be. So we'll get to see him probably run out of time in this session to complete this lap, unfortunately. Luke Sincotta also just briefly popping out on track, but no qualifying time for him as of just yet.
Yeah, I would say maybe if it's if they haven't set a benchmark time or set a qualifying time of sorts, maybe they might want to play it safe and start at the back. That would be the plan. As Craig Fraser now coming down into turn 4 in the 86, and that'll be it.
So we're going to head towards the grid with two classes in the Ozicar Tin Top Christmas Cup, an hour 45 on the clock for this race, expecting a couple of pit stops. Recent update to Phillip Island actually changed the pit road speed. You can get through pit lane quicker than you used to be able to. This is how the grid will line up. John Merritt, I believe in the Ford Mustang, is going to be on pole position from Brent Wassell. I think almost everyone else in Class 1 is the Toyota GR86. See John Merritt on the grid. Wayne Taylor in 3rd, Gavin Cox in 4th, Sean Doyle 5th, and Jay Harvey 6th on the grid. Oh yeah, that works too. That's definitely a Ford Mustang for John Merritt on the front row. GR86s through here with the MFR teammates, it looks like, on row 2. Then Sean Doyle and Jay Harvey. Brody Shepherd has qualified 7th. Alex Tsikas has qualified 8th. Adrian Duke in the Mustang in 9th. And Tony Baker also in a very bright Mustang in 10th. The stripes and the bright colours let you know it's dangerous. That's how snakes work. It's also how Ford Mustangs work. Dominic Barnes in 11th. Stephen O'Brien there in 12th. Jim Delios in 13th. Neil Gardner is the top of Class 2 in the Mazda MX-5 there from Nick Wood in 15th. John Simpson's Renault Clio looks like the last car that set a qualifying time in Class 2. John Snell and Colin Bruns, 17th and 18th. We are intermixed here. Warren Henry, qualifying time for the Mazda. No qualifying time in the one lap from the rest of these drivers here, like Cam Southall, Craig Fraser, Phil King, Daniel Stevens, Luke Cincotta, etc. So it will be a very interesting grid. An hour 45 is about to begin. From a standing start, I back in the torque of the Ford Mustang, but it can't quite corner like the GR86s can, and that's the beauty of this. Looking a lot like production car racing with 4 brands on the grid. The Mustang gets away and it launches hard. So you see a couple of the Mustangs down towards turn 1 trying to pick their way through the field. There's a big squeeze there for one of the powered by coffee cars, Adrian Duke, as his Mustang tries to muscle its way through. Then we'll get into turns 1 and 2 and these flowing parts of the track where the slick tyres of the much lighter GR86 strike back.
Yeah, certainly will. The GR86 a lot lighter and a lot more nimble through. And you can just see the Mustangs are flying around. They're trying to pick their way through the traffic. Look at this. 2 little Mustangs there side by side. Bunch of 86s behind them there. You can see one of the Renault Clios there, number 20, going through. Trying to get around the outside of one of the MX-5s there. Great start by everyone so far. As we come down now to turn 4, you can see just how everyone is squabbling. Look at that, still side by side. The Renault Clio stands out quite a bit on this. It's a little taller than the rest of the field there, so it's standing out like Fred Flintstone, sticking its head out of the roof, and John Simpson there still trying to make his way through, still side by side with the MX-5. That is a brilliant piece of driving there, keeping it clean, keeping noses clean. Look at this battle pack up behind here, the A6s, MX-5s, all mixing it up here. This is great stuff.
Couple of things from the start of the race. Craig Fraser, I think, jumped the start and has a black flag. John Snell has a meatball flag, but he's driving, so I don't know what damage the 16 has got. It might have been a bad gear shift, and we've got drama at the bottom of the hill here. Mustang backwards. Oh, dear.
And Simpson looks like he got involved in that one. He is out, and he's parked it. That's going to be a bad one there. And there you can see Tony Baker in the Ford Mustang, the Sonic, very bright coloured Ford Mustang. And you can see one of the 86s are now coming to the pit lane. So very chaotic start there at the start there on the exit of MG. And you can see, look at the top of the picture there. You can see the cars are squabbling everywhere. Dan Stevens trying to make his way up the field, up into 8th at the moment. And you can
Mustangs
see
are ludicrous in a straight line, aren't they? Neil Gardner's out through the grass on the outside of turn 1. He's MX-5.
Oh,
looping around. He's way out in the grass.
Yeah, way out there. And you don't want to really be on the grass too much on in the real world and in iRacing world, that's for sure. But yeah, look, these Mustangs have some brilliant straight line speed. I can tell you that for sure. Looks like the MX-5 of Neil Gardner now back out onto the circuit. Now he's going to have some work to do here in this 1 hour and 45-minute race. 3 minutes down, we've already seen quite a bit of action here, and you can see now
another big one down at Miller Corner here. Warren Henry's got a whole bunch of damage. What we do have with this mix of 4 cars is massively different braking zones, braking points between different cars. So the Mustang's got to brake way earlier than the GR86s can. There's a difference between the Clio and the Mazdas, and Phil King clearly has a whole chunk of suspension damage and damage on the front of that.
Yeah, he is going to be in the pits for a little while, getting all that repaired, or getting as repaired as much as he can so he can get back out and got some more laps. Yeah, that's a big one there. But yeah, look, like you said, braking markers, it varies in between the 4 different cars here. The MX-5s would all be the same, obviously. The A6s will be the same, but the Mustang, given its power, will probably have a much longer braking zone. And you can see now that the Sparko MX-5, the damaged MX-5 now of Phil King, will come in. He is not going to be able to drive that around without taking some more damage, and someone else is also coming into the pits. You can see now a battle here between a couple of the Toyota 86s. Coming through turn 2, the 555. Rounding up the back there with the JMR car, the 49 of Alex. And you can see their beautiful move up the inside. Thank you so much. I will Oh, sorry, so it's Gavin Cox. Gavin Cox and Alex Zukas. Side by side, coming in through 3, now into 4. Oh, easy. And gets it. And keeps the position there. So Alex, of course, now will stay in 6th place overall.
This could be one to watch across this these GR86s and Class 1 is there's a handful of teammates. So we see MFR versus JMR here, but they've also got teammates elsewhere through the field. Cox is just ahead of Stevens. I haven't picked exactly where the other JMR car has gotten to. It might be Craig Fraser's damaged machine that's in the pit lane at the moment. So we're going to go side by side once again after Lukey Heights and down into MG. Tough to pick what's the correct line to be on here because the inside's cambered. Then around the outside seems to have worked for Zikas, and we're going to go almost flat out through the final corner. There is a power restriction on these cars as well, making it easier to be flat out in more places. So then almost immediately into the slipstream down the front straight. John Merritt's Mustang back to the lead as he's powering down the front straight, but then he's going to get caught through this next sequence. Wassel, Doyle, and Taylor, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th in behind the GR86s. Better at cornering, but also going to be more economical, we'd think.
Certainly should be. I mean, we can see, look how close, of course, just coming out of turn 2, look how close Brent Wassel has gotten up to the back of John Merritt here in the Mustang. And you can see there just the power difference of the Mustang. Let's see here in the braking points there. Around the same. Well, Brent's running a little bit wide there. Sean's going to come up for a move. Nah, I think he's just pulled it back in. So I think if these 86s can work together, they can drop John down a couple of positions or two and see if they can get up here. Let's take a look at the power here. Let's see what this does. This will be an interesting section to watch for. So the Mustang flying through the top of Hayshed here. Coming up into Lukey Heights. Look at the gap he's already pulled. So the power, of course, the power game goes towards the Mustang, but the agility will go towards the 86s in this one. Let's see what we see coming up here into MG. Oh, yeah, you see, look at that. Right up the back bumper of the Mustang. We stay with this one for a little bit here. Let's see what we get out of this one. Okay, on board now with Sean Doyle. And flat out through the final corner, coming onto the front straightaway, and the Mustang is pulling away ever so slightly, but we will see the 86s catch back up to it.
Fastest lap of the race, changing hands a couple of times there. John Merritt got it, and then Brent Wassel took it back as he crossed the line. It's sort of mid-morning, so expecting that the track temperature could continue to rise, but clearly they're all just getting settled in as we go. 20 degrees in the air, 26 degrees on the track. Going to climb just a tidbit as we go. Class 2 being led by Michael Vos at the moment. He's got 10 seconds on Neil Gardner. We saw so many of those Mazdas coming together, a couple of them getting turned around in the early laps, and Class 2 have been scattered, but the GR86s seem to stay glued together in a handful of battle packs, including Daniel Stevens, Gavin Cox. Cam Southall is motoring through the field. So he's passed a bunch of drivers to get up to the back of the Stevens-Cox battle.
Yeah, look at that Palmer 2 mils. That's a retro livery if I've ever seen one. Lovely to see that. And you can see just how quick Cam is moving up here, plus 8 positions so far. So he's really moving up the field here, right onto the back of Gavin Cox. If he can get a good slipstream over here over Lukey Heights, he might be able to make a move down into MG. Let's see what he does here. Can pull out, make a move for the inside. Not going to go for it just yet. Might try and wait till he gets down to turn 2. If he can get a good run out of MG and onto the front straightaway, they've got one of the Mustangs in front of him. That's Dan Stevens. And you can see now, see if Cam can make his way up to the back of Gavin Cox here in the other 86. See if the slipstream battle will work for him. Look at Dan Stevens there, just pulling away in the Mustang.
Changed hands a couple of times here. So Brent Wassel, I think, took a dive at MG, got ahead of John Merritt. Merritt's passed him on the front straight, but now they've checked up in turn 2. So I think Wassell's getting just a little bit closer to putting more pressure on John Merritt and not letting him stretch his legs quite as much. A similar battle is going to play out here between Stevens, Cox and Cam Southall. Last lap, Stevens was just a bit quicker though.
So look here, see if we can go on board now with Cam. See how he's working the wheel, trying to...
Way less body roll in these GR86s now, hey?
It seems to have been that way, yeah. I've discovered a lot of body roll in the 86s prior to the recent update that we've just had, and I absolutely love racing these 86s, so it's going to be awesome to see. I haven't driven these yet since the update, but we'll definitely be trying them out hopefully soon. But yeah, look, this will be interesting to see how these differ compared to the previous updated 86s. When these came in, these were so much fun to drive. So we'll see now.
My teammates have got someone who was racing in the North American GR86 Cup, and he sent us his setup sheet, and it's like, wow, none of those values are legal in iRacing.
Oh jeez.
Like, the stiffest spring you could put in iRacing was basically half as stiff as what teams were actually using in the real car, in the real championship. And that, after 2 years, iRacing have fixed it now.
Oh, that's great to hear. It's make sure that they can keep up with the real world of the race cars that they add into this sim. And we know how popular the 86 series has become, with championships all over the world, including some great championships even in Australia and New Zealand as well with their 86 series. And we can see now Sean Doyle now has made a move past Brent Wassell, and Brent is not going to give this one up. Dane around the outside, might try and look for a crisscross, but he's got to watch out because behind him is Wayne Taylor. He might be sniffing in for a move. And yeah, we actually have a few New Zealanders in this, which is great to see. I'm looking forward to seeing if...
No, I was thinking of a different Wayne Taylor.
Oh, yeah, no, definitely would be. Well, given where I'm from, yeah. But yeah, look, certainly forward to seeing if this Wayne Taylor, we're not discussing that Wayne Taylor, we're talking about this Wayne Taylor, if he can make his way up the grid. Currently just sitting in fourth, just sitting back here and enjoying the view at the moment.
Kiwi flags on track at the moment are Daniel Stevens, Tony Baker, Nick Wood, Phil King, John Snell, I think. I'll be honest, when the flag is rendered at 10 pixels, it's a tad bit more difficult to tell which one is which in the Australia versus New Zealand thing, which is why Laser Kiwi would have been a good thing.
Yeah, it is a bit tough to sometimes see if you can't really make out what flag you're trying to see here. You can see there now, looking at the flags on the side of the screen there. Dan Stevens, the best of the Kiwi bunch up here in 6. We'll see if he can make his way up any further.
Mustangs are coming on strong here compared to qualifying, compared to where some of them qualified. So Daniel Stevens is up 18 outright positions. Adrian Duke is starting to catch the top 4 in his Mustang as well. So we knew from the standing start that the Mustangs could gain a little bit. But I think in race trim extended, they seem to be just a tiny bit quicker than the GR86s at the moment. And they'd better be, because they've got a bigger fuel tank, they're using more fuel, they're probably going to have longer pit stop times than the GR86s.
Yeah, you would think so, especially with a massive fuel tank compared to what the 86s are. But these Mustangs, maybe it's just the tyres. Maybe it's just the tyres that are just slowly coming up to temperature a bit better, or slowly coming up to working temperature a bit better than the 86s. And you can see how smooth here Daniel Stevens has been. He's probably working the wheel in his sim rig, and you can see it coming over Hayshed up to Leaky Heights, up over the top, keeping it straight, a little bit over the curb there, dab on the brakes there just to get around the corner. Now down into MG, we're looking back here at the 286s there of Gavin Cox and Cam Southall. And, well, there you go, look at Cam now. Cam's found himself a little bit of a gap, so he's poking the nose, trying to unsettle Gavin Cox a little bit. And now coming through the final corner, loving this little onboard view here. You can see back, you can see all the battles happening behind him. So Dan is pulling away slightly from Gavin in the Ford Mustang. So far, it looks to be dominated with the Toyotas, but the Fords have been scattered in and amongst the Toyotas at the moment. So loving to see the different car manufacturers that are up there. And John Simpson now also looking back down at Class 2 is currently 5th in the Renaults behind all the MX-5s that have taken up Class 2.
Simpson had a mechanical black flag. He couldn't really struggle his way to pit lane, so he lost a lot of time with that. His car's otherwise quite entertaining in this group. You saw it going back and forth against the Mazda MX-5s, and the advantage that the Clio has got compared to the MX-5s is a very, very flat power curve from its little turbocharged engine, which you can also find the same 1.3 litre turbocharged engine in Mercedes CLA 200s.
Knows where the power's coming from, just in a little body. See now the number 20 now making his way around. Unfortunately, getting tangled up with that starting incident out at MG, and right, so our producer's just got in our ear, and his
first black flag of this race was Craig Fraser, and I think he might have jumped the start. Then we had some others pick up some mechanical black flags. So we'll wind way back. This is off the race start.
Yep, there you go. Unfortunately, let it go too early, and we got a staller on the grid. Oh, bit of a tap there in the back. So we had someone who, John Snell, who unfortunately did not get into gear or completely forgot that the car was supposed to be in gear. So unfortunately, John Snell's had a bit of a whoops. Yeah, it was on the Sparko MX-5s, I think it was. I think that might have been the same. Yeah, it's number 26. So Phil King, unfortunately, had his issues and had to go into the pits, I think on the very next lap after getting involved in an incident that we will see hopefully later on. Here we go.
So he sees the jump start, then he goes, and what he doesn't see or react to quite in time
is the stalled 86 there of John Snell. So unfortunately, Phil King getting a bit tangled up there.
And then there's Daniel Stevens is like just there off the race start, and you can see how well he's cut through the field, that he's now in 6th outright from at the back here. So certainly the horsepower, the low down torque of the V8 has helped him cut through in a straight line, and then he can get his elbows out through the corners and try to keep some of that. This is one of the other turn 1 incidents for John Simpson. He gets tapped by the GR86 there, as there's already 2 other cars around, and the suspension rips out of one of the corners for him.
Yeah, you can look here at Jay Harvey in the number 4. Going to go for a spin. There we go. So Tony Baker gets spun around. And I wonder who that might have been, because it looks like they had tapped Tony Baker and also the 17 there of Brody Shepherd. So I wonder if that was a double tap. Here we go. Looking at one of the 86s here in the background. Oh, so they got tap and another tap. Was that the 44 there? Oh, sorry, the 49. So it was Alex Zikas, who unfortunately got involved in that one. You can see a little bit of a dent on the front of his car. Unfortunately, that's put a few cars out there at MG, and that's obviously what caused, unfortunately, the little Renault to have to go into the pits and get some repairs done.
Yeah, then he ran into some other... Oh, there's Dan Stevens. That's how he passed 18 cars.
There you go.
He passed 5 down the front straight there. We kind of caught a little bit of that momentum as it happened, and ooh, yeah, that was out there. That's how Daniel Stevens has made some of his moves. John Merritt's still holding on to the race lead with Duke up 4 spots in 5th. Stevens up 18 spots in 6th. Cam Southall up 13 spots to 8th. There's a good news story for all the Toyota fans. If you're a fan of Toyota sports cars, it was very, very sad for about 20 years, and now they've come good again. You've got, a sportier GR86. They came out with the new Supra. The GRGT's just been unveiled, and apparently a new MR2 is a possibility, and they've revealed a concept car.
Well, Toyota as well, David, just for your information, has actually has made a big splash in South African motorsport as well. They've got a class running with 86s, Yaris's and Corollas, and that's the new Yaris and Corollas that they're running. So that's become a fabulous championship as well that they're running over there. So there's a big surge in Toyota big time around the world.
And I thought Toyota's Hilux Dakar Rally team was actually from South Africa. It's basically Toyota Gazoo Racing South Africa, or whoever it is like, oh yeah, we're doing the rally raid stuff as well, doing the development and operations from South Africa.
Yeah, and there's a lot of build and a lot of developmental going into Toyota at the moment. The championships. Toyota have a heavy presence in also what used to be called global touring cars, but now the South African touring cars with their Corolla as well. So there's a lot of development, and a lot of the drivers go on to do things such as Dakar as well. So there is a massive surge with Toyota coming in with a lot of the developmental programs and sport cups as well, to get people who are either into sim racing or those that want to start in motorsport and giving them a drive. So it's a fantastic surge to see how Toyota have just upped everything to 100 and have just made such a fantastic wave of momentum and support in the world of motorsport.
So John Merritt down the front straight is going to stretch his legs to almost a 1 second lead, past a 1 second lead as he heads towards turn 1. The GR86s on his tail weren't quite as close over Lukey Heights and through MG's previous laps, and then he begins to gap them. So Merritt finally almost being able to leave these GR86s behind. If he could break the slipstream, I reckon that would be pretty powerful. They're benefiting from slipstreaming off him at the moment. This top 4 are the 4 fastest cars on track. Duke, Stevens, Gavin Cox, etc. not quite able to go with the pace that John Merritt's setting out in the lead. And this is Harvey, O'Brien and Bruns, 9th, 10th, 11th. Colin Bruns, another driver that's come from 18th on the grid and now looking for a top 10.
Yeah, certainly big battles up and down the field at the moment. This is what we love to see, especially in multi-class racing like we have here today with the 86s, Mustangs in Class 1, Mazdas and Renaults in Class 2. And you can just see how the 86s are flowing through the circuit here. This is a beautiful flow section here that they're coming up. Look at this beautiful battle here that we were just talking about here. Harvey, O'Brien and Bruns. And you can see this is where the 86s tend to be a little bit better in my opinion here, because it's not a full-on straight. They can carry a lot more flow through here than what the Mustangs can. And you can see now, look at the beautiful flow here coming over Lukey Heights down into MG. And just slowly making their way through.
Making their way downtown. John Merritt continues to try to build out a little bit of a gap at the race lead. Again, I think that's going to be critical. We haven't seen any really properly scheduled pit stops yet, but I maintain that I think the fuel fill rate on a litre-by-litre basis is similar between the Mustang and the GR86, and the Mustang is just burning more, therefore they'll need to take more pit stops a tiny bit longer. Neither car changes tyres particularly quickly. I think you need almost 40 seconds to change all 4 tyres on the GR86, and it's similar for the Mustang. They're not designed for endurance racing. They're designed for 25-minute, 30-minute races, and so when it comes to refueling them or doing tyre changes, they are not GT3 cars.
Unfortunately, they're only standard production race cars, so unfortunately they don't take as quick to change the tyres as they would in any other car such as a GT3. As we look back at Bruns here making a move, and we'll get one done and move up another position there. And a bit of a crisscross happening here. You can see the Stephen O'Brien car trying to make his way back through. Brun says, it ain't going to happen today. And in the background there, Dominic Barnes is looking for a move as well. Side by side once again over Lukey Heights. Runs out a bit wide, trying to get a good run there. Phil King is now into the pits for what I assume would be his first proper pit stop of this race.
And some traffic for the race leaders. John Merritt blasts past in a straight line. Doyle, Wassel and Taylor need to dive to the inside of turn 1 to make that move happen. The GR86s at Phillip Island are just a little bit magnetic with how powerful their slipstream is, even with the adjustments that have been made that give them just a little bit more poke in a straight line. They've gotten quicker in almost every facet as well, now that you can actually put the springs and setup on them that they called for.
Yeah, certainly will. It'll be interesting to see how 86 championships and leagues and everything here on iRacing go now that they're a bit more closer, or that step closer to being matching the real world race cars of the 86 league around the world. You can see there now coming down into turn 4 once again. Race sort of settling down here. We're only an hour and 20 left in this one. And certainly it's now calmed down a little bit, and Colin Brunn's now looking up ahead. You can see Jay Harvey is up ahead of him, and it looks as though that gap is just changing ever so slightly. We look back here at another battle here, a couple of MX-5s mixing it up with an 86, so a couple of Class 2 cars going at it with a Class 1.
Nick Wood and Neil Gardner here together as second and third in that class. Oh, but then that's a big slide from Wood by the looks of things. Gardner goes past. You've got a bunch of the Mustangs pitting, so they're the first to hit pit lane. John Merritt from the race lead, Adrian Duke as well. Daniel Stevens has managed to go a lap longer. Cam Southall's bringing his Toyota GR86 in. It's interesting to see that if that's the fuel range of the Ford Mustangs, this is like a 3-stop race minimum.
Yeah, 3 to 4 stops if you depending on when the competition caution will be waved in. And we can see now some of the drivers now have made their pit stops there, so it looks as though it's a 20-second pit stop for Adrian Duke, who is going to step out, and one of the MX-5s is just flying to the pits there. He decided to step away from that one, so that's Neil Gardner, who has stepped away, and one of the Mustangs now coming out of the pit lane. Here we go, side-by-side battle, 86 versus Mazda, and the 86 will fly past down into turn 1. Thank you very much. I'll take that one.
Should be a little better through the corners than it's been, or more predictable through the corners than it's been in past as well, but MX-5 is just that little bit lighter, a little bit nimbler, so if we're not at the speeds for the downforce, I think the MX-5 is still a very, very nimble cornering for opposition. And so at 20 seconds of pit stop for the Mustangs, but 14 seconds for Cam Southall in the GR86, I think that is the pit stop difference we're expecting to see. The rest of the GR86s all come flying in, Brent Wassel, Sean Doyle, and Wayne Taylor, and they are going to go through into the lead of the race if their pit stop times reflect what we've seen last time around.
See if we can we'll keep an eye on the pit stop times for sure, so we can get a bit more of a read on what our pit stops will look like. So they're coming a lap later after the Ford Mustangs, as this battle here still continues between the 86 and the MX-5. Nick Wood now looking for a move round the outside. Try for crisscross. And I got outsmarted. So the 86 now knowing what he wants to do, and we'll see if that makes any difference there. Take a look back here at Stephen O'Brien, the 84. And it looks like you're right, so 14 seconds is the pit stop. So that's a 5 to 6 second pit stop difference between the two in Class 1. So that'll be an interesting story to tell between the Mustangs and the 86s here tonight, David. Just looking.
Yeah, so 6 seconds pit stop difference. Merritt didn't seem like he had 6 seconds of race pace difference across the stint, but with the slipstream broken, we'll see. How is... Now, the first gear is very tall in these GR86s. Are they struggling to get up to pit lane speed from their pit boxes? Because while John Merritt's pit stop time is 6 seconds longer, his lane transit time is only 4 seconds longer.
Might have to go back and have a look and listen and have a see if that is the case, or we wait for the next pit stop and have a look. But we can see now, we look back here at this battle here, 1.5 seconds now is the gap between Brent Wassel and John Merritt.
Yeah, I just wonder if they're losing, if these GR86s are losing a second or so trying to get up to 72 k's an hour from the standing start. The Mustang, so much torque. Road car ratios, first and second, are pretty short in that car. You don't use them much, but they will get you away from a traffic light very easily. Whereas here in the GR86, yeah, it just grinds a little bit. And then, of course, leaving the pit lane and trying to get up to racing speed, the Mustang will do much better. So I think even if the stop time is more for the Mustang, that the pit delta is not a 6 second difference. It's more like only a 3 or 4 second difference. That's actually very interesting.
Yeah, it would be, and we're keeping an eye on that one to see how it plays out. Looking back at a replay, Dominic Barnes, getting into the MX5. Yeah, that's done a hell of a number for Dominic Barnes. I saw him coming to the pit lane, saw the notice that he was getting a meatball. He needs to get repairs done. You can see there that's why. So unfortunately, you're getting involved with one of the MX5s going down to MG, and that has unfortunately buggered up his car a little bit. So he'll be spending some time in the pits, and we can see now back here, looking back at our top four, Brent Wassel now still with the fastest lap of the race so far, being followed closely by Sean Doyle, but look who's in the back there, John Merritt in the Mustang, with Wayne Taylor just behind. Here we go, on board with the Mustang. And we're looking at the speed to the driver's right. And, yep, they're just going to move over. John's going to be like, thank you very much, mate. I'll come through. Oh, maybe not, maybe not. Oh! Shut the door. Just the door on John Merritt there, and John Merritt's going to have to find another way around. Look at the pace that he has. Looks like an angry Mustang, like just coming through the field there, trying to make his way through on the 86s, and has made a great gain so far. Here he goes, closing in now on the two 86s at the front, Brent and Sean, and another black flag coming up for Dominic Barnes.
I think that's going to be
if
what
he's
we
had
saw at MG.
Okay,
so there've been a couple of black flags from race control. We know that Alex Tsikas had one. There might have been one or two others from some other contact incidents that we saw, and now Dominic Barnes gets one. We've had one pit stop from everybody in this race, and the longest anyone went was 17 laps from Stephen O'Brien. 42 laps still predicted. That'll come down with the safety car, but yeah, this will be strategically interesting with lots of pit stops, and John Merritt's going to have to keep doing this thing he's doing where he cuts through the field, loses a little bit of time on the pit stop, then needs to close it back and cut through the field again. Slightly Sisyphean for John Merritt, but he will end up with some big gains.
Let's go. Looks like it's going to be like a long afternoon for John Merritt. Look at this. Get a bit of side-by-side action. Look at John Merritt on the inside going down to turn one. It's a done two for one special. and will resume the lead of the race. There has to check up a little bit, ran a little too wide into turn 1. Sean Doyle will be looking for a move back past him around the outside. If I was Brent, here you go, around the outside. Just gets him. Gotcha. Thank you very much. But now the straight line speed will come back into play for John Merritt in the Mustang. Woo, this is going to be a long afternoon.
To the standing start that we saw, and every Ford Mustang from a standing start versus GR86 clearly got, 1 or 2 seconds for free. It stands to reason that a standing start from your pit box is exactly the same. So every pit stop is a fresh standing start that the Ford Mustangs just get 1 or 2, 3 seconds from. But now he's right back where he was before the last phase of pit stops. And you wonder if everyone else is going to be less patient here. If Brent Wassell and Wayne Taylor don't want Sean Doyle leading the GR86s anymore, because Wassell's going to try to come around the outside of Lukey Heights. It won't work. But he's been there thinking, I could put a little bit of pressure on John Merritt if I was ahead of Sean Doyle, but he hasn't been able to.
Yeah, the thing is with the 86s that I think if you want to take out a Mustang, you got to work together, not work against each other here. And I think unfortunately that's it's the opposite of what should be happening here. But you can see Brent Wassell is now up on the rear of Sean Doyle, right underneath the spoiler. And we'll look for a move going around the outside here. Wayne Taylor just enjoying the view, sitting at the back there. So they get close and they pull a bit of a gap, and that's going to be the story of this race here with just under an hour and 10 minutes to go in this one. So it's going to be a long day for this trio of 86s as Brent Wassell now makes his move up the inside, gets second place back, and will now try and hunt down or see how close he can get to John Merritt in the Mustang.
Heading towards turn 4, Doyle brakes significantly earlier than Brent Wassell, so he maybe thought about trying to have a lunge back down the inside, but now we're in this second stint of the race. He might sit and see what Wassell can do, and if John Merritt starts getting too far away, then I guess it's gloves off once again. This is looking like a top 4. Daniel Stevens was sort of bopping up and down the timing column as well, as I think he's been having that classic back and forth here versus Cam Southall, two biggest movers of the race.
And Stevens has certainly found a way to make that Mustang work for him, down in 7th place at the moment. Had a brilliant start flying up through the field, chopping his way through the field essentially at the start of the Mustangs. Like you said, had a great start off the start of the race behind the stop boxes, and Dan's made that car work very nicely for him. Right now being hunted down by Cam Southall and seeing if anything can come of it here in this battle, as Dan Stevens now finds his way to keep the car on the straight and narrow and make sure that he cannot let Cam pass. Although the front straightaway and the long straightaway, the power of the Mustang will allow him to get away there.
Highway patrol down the front straight, radar gun out. Daniel Stevens 231 kilometers an hour, Cam Southall 216. So that's the difference at the end of straight between a Ford Mustang and a Toyota GR86. It's more than 15 kilometers an hour.
Yeah, that's a big difference there. You can tell with the power difference, of course. But the 86, the thing it has over the Mustang is that it's just got a lot more grip through the corners, and it's easy to maintain around sweeping sections and tight sections as well compared to the Mustang. And with that new update that they had just received, it's going to make it just that little bit easier there as well. So looking back now here at Bruns leading another couple of 86s, and there's a Mustang just sniffing around there in the background.
I think the 86s are also going to look after their tyres better, because I think we saw that the Mustangs didn't have enough time in their pit stop to take 4 brand new tyres. And with their less sophisticated suspension, with their more torque, they can wear out their rear tyres, the traction tyres in particular. And so the GR86s might maintain their pace a little bit better, a little bit longer. We saw that when Daniel Stevens was battling with Cam Southall, that traction out of the slow corners remains a challenge. And in this battle, Stephen O'Brien went longer on fuel than anyone else. So is he already back into another fuel-saving stint?
Yeah, it looks like he would be. And I think if John wants to play this safe, he's just gone down to fourth. And it looks as though Brent also ran a bit wide the out of two. Yeah, I'd want to say that given that it'll take a long time to get 4 tires onto these cars, I wonder if John's playing the game, or if the Mustangs are playing the game of maybe just changing 2 tires, not change 4, maybe change 2 tires for now, maybe go 4 later on in this one. You take a look.
This is what happened at the race lead. So Daniel Stevens is leading. Brent Wassel is almost being bump drafted along. But Merritt, I think, just gets ambushed a little bit into turn 2 here. He's like, oh, suddenly there's a car to my inside. And then once you're wide at Southern Loop, there is marbles and dirt and dust and everything there. And then Wassel overcommits as well, and he runs out wide. Sean Doyle ends up at the lead of the race. John Merritt went back to 4th, but then begun to cut his way back through again. Rinse and repeat every time we get to the front straight.
Yeah, I think like I said earlier, I think this is going to be the story of the afternoon with John Merritt here in the Mustang being so far up. Unfortunately, having to race 386s by himself, but he has the power. He can make that power work down the front straightaway. And yeah, that move into 2. Unfortunately, it just unsettled him, because as soon as 1 gets past you, when someone goes past you, you're slightly offline. You have to regather yourself, get back on racing line. It puts you off a little bit, and it can unsettle you. But it doesn't seem to have affected John too much. He's gone back into his rhythm pretty quickly, and you can see now Brent Wassel now still trying to see if he can just stick with the Mustang. Sort of unsettled him, because the more he does this, the better it could help his chances come the next pit cycle.
He's playing a bit of a game here, because he could have stormed down the inside at turn 1, but he backed off quite early, and now he's doing the same again. Could have had a look down the inside to disrupt the GR86s, but he stayed behind, so maybe he's begun calculating those sums again and going, I might need to cut down my next pit stop by 1 or 2 seconds if I can, because not only are my pit stop times a little bit longer, but my fuel stint was a tiny bit shorter. I might need that 1 lap. Don't want to get caught the wrong side of a safety car that these GR86s benefit from, but I don't.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's the game you play with multi-class racing, and especially if the classes are as massively diverse as these two, because of the fuel tank restrictions, the BOP restrictions, just all of that stuff, and depends on the pit stops and the way you drive them. Look at Brent. He is just not giving this one up. He knows there's a difference between the 2 cars, but he wants to play, and I think he's playing a game of cat and mouse. Maybe make John use more fuel, use more tires. It might help him out, might get him a couple seconds in the pit stop. Let's see if Brent can make this one work. Look over here, there, a couple more there's another Mustang and a 86 going at it, going down to 1. This is the battle here we're focusing on here.
Now he goes. No, he doesn't.
Oh. Okay, so pulls the nose out and then backs off. I wonder if he's just trying to maybe make some sort of intimidation tactic on Wayne Taylor up ahead of him there in the 86. And the battle between John and Brent is still going. You can see them changing leaderboard names on the left-hand side of your screen.
I think John Merritt is starting to think, I led most of the way in the first stint. Didn't really benefit me how I would have liked to. So now I'm going to do some saving. Oh, needs to save those rear tires. So easy to light them up in traction when you're coming out of any corner with a bit of steering angle still on, such as the way the rear geometry is of the FR500S. And this is the other battle pack. Tony Baker's Jackson Pollock leading Stephen O'Brien and Colin Bruns, and someone's a lap down in that. Might be okay. Apparently, it's Dominic Barnes.
Yeah, unfortunately, Dominic Barnes had the black flag situation coming for repairs, and I think get another one for, unfortunately, I think maybe speeding in the lane, not having his limiter activated or activated it too late.
Mustang doesn't have a limiter.
Dominic Barnes in the 86s there, David. This is the one I was talking about. So unfortunately, might have had a bit of an issue with the limiter, but it looks as though he's back out, and we'll try and just circle around, see if he can make his way up a little bit more. But being a lap down, unfortunately, as soon as you go past, you will receive a blue flag and be told to scoot out of the way for the cars ahead of you, or the cars behind you, sorry.
Oh, it's going to be tough for Wayne Taylor to get through the traffic there. John Merritt's just been caught the wrong side, and he was battling for second and then gets shoved back to fourth. So this is the traffic you were anticipating they were going to catch, and having caught them through Southern Loop, it's been an awkward time.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's not a worse time than going through a very fast section of track right here. You can see now John Merritt now wanting to use some of the traffic as a bit of a helping hand now, coming out of turn 4, and will try and make his way up onto the back of Wayne Taylor, probably hoping Wayne gets caught behind some more of this slower traffic. Look at the battle here. Look at Brent Wassel. He's absolutely flying, trying to make his way through. There goes one of the Mustangs to the side. Stay out of the way. Whoa, there we go. Thank you very much. And John now looking for a move on the inside. Does... Well, okay, never mind. Side by side. I was almost going to say you got it done there. Just lost track of the 86. Here we go. Down at MG. John's around the outside. Look at Brent Wassel. Says thank you, mate. And it's still side by side. A little bit of a touch there, possibly. And it looks as though it'll be side by side through to the final corner here. Loving this camera view here. Let's see just how these two are going at it. Side by side now. Two very different cars.
And Mustang mode engaged.
Mustang mode engaged, that's for sure. Here we go. Fly past Wayne Taylor. Says thank you very much. I think John's had about enough of seeing the back of an 86, or seeing the back of more than one 86, that's for sure, because now he's got Sean Doyle in front of him. He has to regather himself, but look at Brent Wassel now. He has been a thorn in the side of John Merritt for practically this entire race now. We're less than an hour to go in this one, and you can see just how close Brent Wassel is to the back of John Merritt at the moment in the Mustang.
Parking the inside of Southern Loop was an interesting strategy. It's where he lost the lead earlier for John Merritt, but he's like, you can't go around the outside of me, and Southern Loop is becoming increasingly one line with the marble build up. Gravel's, of course, being dragged back on and only clearing on the inside racing line, so that becomes a tougher place to pass. It becomes way tougher to go around the outside. Now 11 laps into this stint for John Merritt. His first stint was 15, so he's got to be already thinking about his next pit stop. And that pit stop number 2 seems like it is going to come before the halfway point of this race. So I think he's thinking about, how do I stretch this so that it's 3 stops, not 4, and a little bit of safety car in the middle. Whenever that happens and is randomly generated, will just maybe eat enough of the clock to save the Mustangs needing to 4 stop. Oh, right now the safety car comes out.
There we go.
Right on cue. So it's before... That is an interesting timing, isn't it? Because it's now before when they might have wanted to make their second stop. But surely everyone is going to think about it. It's an iRacing safety car, so pit entry ought to be closed until the whole train comes around next time.
Yeah, so no one can do an old the old undercut, chuck on fresh tires, and get onto the back of this train. So unfortunately, that is not going to happen. As we can see now, one of the 86s out the back there. Not too sure if this is a wave around. Are wave rounds allowed in this one here, David?
Well, it won't happen yet. It'll try to catch everyone just as they were, picking up the leader and then every car behind, no overtaking. And then pit entry might only open for the lead lap cars. And if you're the lap down there and all the leaders come in and you stay out, then you'd get waved around automatically. by the safety car without Ozicar Race Control stepping in any way. But it is a bit odd why we're side by side there.
Yeah, because I've just had a look at this 86 here who has decided to fly past a couple of cars there. Wasn't anywhere in this battle as a lapped car, maybe a couple laps ago it was. But this iRacing caution will certainly now bring everyone back into contention. And I want to keep an eye out also on Dan Stevens and Cam Southall, who have been flying through the field of the start and have maintained where they've been. We know how strong Dan Stevens has been in that Mustang. And also with Adrian Duke as well, who I believe is the other Mustang in this top battle now. So he will climb onto the back here of Wayne Taylor and will try and also be a part of the big battle that's happening up the front.
So towards pit entry, it should be open for our leaders, and it's about on time. This is a very cheap stop. Everyone's passed 2/3 of their stint, so they're all going to come in. Sean Doyle, John Merritt, Brent Wassell. The question becomes who's staying out, and if you're a lapped car, maybe you'd do that to get a wave around or an extra wave around, or if you just stop like Brody Shepherd, but he comes in again. So it's a queue for pit entry. Sean Doyle's got a black flag on pit entry. He took too much speed through the pit entry there, and he entered the pit lane earlier than the safety car passed the safety car line.
Oh no, so that'll mess up with Sean a little bit there. As you can see now, the pit lane is just full of all the different cars that we have, the 4 different classes of cars that we have.
So where the pit lane speed limit starts, draw a line from there across the racetrack. If you enter the pit lane before the safety car has passed the same point out on the track, you're adjudged as having passed the safety car. Sean Doyle's received a black flag from that. John Merritt is going to rejoin the race in the lead from Brent Wassell. Tony Baker jumps up into 3rd. And I think this standing start in the pit lane with the field all condensed has benefited the Mustangs. I reckon Baker's probably dropped the clutch. And you can overtake in the pit lane under safety car. You just can't overtake under safety car outside of the pit lane.
So Tony Baker now up a handful of spots now. This pit stop has helped also Cam Southall and Dan Stevens now. I mean, so a number of the Mustangs are getting up there with this battle here. And look at Brent Wassell here now. He is tempted to get going. He wants to get going. He doesn't want to wait anymore. He wants to get going. He knows that this will be a good chance for him to try and get past John Merritt and retake the lead for the 86 Brigade that we have out on track at the moment. You can see there a few cars that have stayed out behind our competition caution, and we'll just see how they play this one. Do they stay out? Do they come in? How's this all going to work? Look at John Merritt now. He wants to get going. He's looking on the inside of the 77 there. Come on. I want to get going. I want to go for it.
So John Merritt is the race leader. There's 3 cars at the moment between him and the safety car. Now, it looks like Sean Doyle has ended up second last car on the lead lap, almost being held extra time in his pit stall, but he remains on the lead lap.
Dominic Barnes
heading to pit lane.
Dominic Barnes gets a black flag, so I think he's also unfortunately entered the pits too quickly. You can see our lonely Renault Clio there of John Simpson. He gets the wave around through. Now, why hasn't the 77 gone past just yet? So it looks as though the Renault Clio's gone through, but the 77 is not just yet. There we go. Go through, being followed through by one of the Mustangs. So now it's basically 2 stops for almost everyone, 3 stops for some of them who have come in a bit earlier. Obviously, that was before repairs and everything like that. So we're under safety car right now. The mandatory competition caution that we have for this Ozicar Christmas run at Phillip Island.
Want to know something fun about the tail lights on the safety car?
Sure.
So the high beams are flashing. The lights in the rear cluster that are flashing, I believe, are the rear fog lights.
Oh, okay. I actually didn't notice that until we just saw that view on the camera there. So that's interesting. They're rear fog lights. Okay.
Yeah, most German cars have got them. Some Toyotas have got them, but they were never a requirement in Australia. So Commodores, Falcons, etc. didn't have rear fog lights. In fact, I'd wager that most Australians who drive a car that has rear fog lights don't know their car has a rear fog light.
Probably wouldn't do. I don't think you'd ever find a need for it in most cases.
Lights are still on that BMW safety car, so it's not coming in this lap. We got at least one more. Recapping where everyone is in this, we have 15 cars in the train behind the safety car. A few more have been waved around, such that I think we'll end up with 19 on the lead lap. I think Phil King will be the last car on the lead lap. Dominic Barnes, John Snell, and Warren Henry are 1 and 3 laps down, I think. Again, as we come past the start-finish line and the waved around cars begin to catch the train, the picture will become a little bit clearer. Nick Wood's going for pit lane, and we are past the halfway distance in terms of time in this race now.
We're looking at 58 minutes left to go in this one. Look at John. Look at John Merritt here, right up next to the BMW, and we'll almost.
You can do that now. The fog light's off.
All right, so John is trying to hurry the safety car along, but it's the iRacing safety car, so one unfortunately push him too far. But you can see, look at the massive gap here. You got a handful of the cars. There we go. Here comes a couple more around turn 1. And John Merritt wants to get this race going. He wants to get as far away from Brent Wassel as possible. It's been a thorn in his side this entire time. We'll see if the Mustang can get through.
Tony Baker's going to like this race start, right? Because we'll be at low speed through the final corner. John Merritt will drop the throttle, and if Tony Baker reacts at the same time Brent Wassel does, Wassel will be a sitting duck compared to some of these Mustangs on that race restart on the front straight.
Well, I'm looking forward to this restart, David, because I was just about to say there that like Tony Baker is in the back there. He's been not a factor predominantly for most of this race. This competition caution with the free pit stop, it's helped him out. Look how far up he's come. He's now on the back of Brent Wassel, and there's just one more Mustang in front of him if he wants to try and go for a race lead. So look at this battle pack here. We quickly look at the most positions gains. Dan Stevens up 13, 14 positions. Cam Southall up 12. Tony Baker up 7. Colin Bruns up 6. Michael Voss up 4. So we are not... Michael Voss, sorry. My bad with the pronunciation there. Up 4. Here we go.
And that's only positions in class, not positions overall. Actually, a lot of the Class 2 cars have gained more than that.
And double file restart here as well. So the Mustangs will have the preferred racing line into 1. And
so the pace car is in. We're going to go around the final corner, and we're waiting on the green flag to get us underway again. John Merritt will like the place that he's in. So too will Tony Baker and Daniel Stevens. because when it comes from restarting from about 70 k's an hour, the torque of those Mustangs is going to get them up to speed in the drag race down towards turn 1. So when does Barney swap from the caution flag to the green flag? It's now. And as we get going, the Mustangs rise in their rev range, and Dan Stevens is going to push Tony Baker. And then Adrian Duke, it looks like.
Yeah,
the other lane.
Here we go. Down to turn 1, and Adrian Duke now around the outside. Here we go. Mustang Cup. 1, 2, 3, 4. Brent Wassel will not like that. Here we go. Up the inside of Dan Stevens here. He's going to go, nah, I want to spoil this party here. Thank you very much. And we can see now the
Class 2 leader is off. Michael Vosters are on the outside of Southern Loop. Neil Gardner, Nick Wood, John Simpson are now the top 3 in that class. It was a 2-wide restart. It was jumbled with all 4 of our cars together. And Michael Voss has lost out. It's Mustangs to the front. Merritt, Baker, Duke, and Stevens. But Wassel will get his gang together and then try to round them up.
Yeah, it looks as though Michael Voss is now back up to speed, which is great to see. So here we go. Now look at that there. Forward 1, 2, 3, 4, followed by a gaggle of Toyotas right here at the Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit. Through Hayshed, up to Lukey Heights. John Merritt now loving the view up ahead. He's got no one. He's got almost a second gap to Tony Baker here. On board here with the 86. Down into MG, and he's looked at the back of the Dan Stevens Mustang. Doesn't like the view of that. Here we go. Around the outside. Not going to make it work. A little dab of the brakes there for Dan Stevens there. Dab it again. Just to get around the corner, the 86, you can go foot flat if you need to. Brent Wassel now will try and look for some sort of move, but the power of these Mustangs allows for the gap to get pulled there. Looking back now, Dominic Bonds with a black flag, and he is in the pit lane for a long time. I'm not too sure what's happened there to old Dominic Barnes, unfortunately, and we can see there now as the rest of the field coming through turns 1 and turn 2, and Neil Gardner now leads Class 2. John Simpson's in the Renault, who was a lap down before. Oh, we got a big old at turn 2 there.
Has spun to the inside on the exit of the Southern Loop. Oh, he's going to have to rejoin over the berm.
Oh, that'll shake the car up a little bit. You can see now, as I was saying, is John Simpson now, who was down a lap, unfortunately getting involved at MG on lap 1, is up to second place, so he'll be happy with that. He'll be happy with where he is at the moment there. There he is there in the Renault Clio. Coming through now up towards the top of the circuit here, followed closely by a couple of, an 86 and an MX-5, and there's a couple more MX-5s up the back here. So enjoying this battle as we see it going. Here we go. Looking for a move up the inside of the 7-1 cross lead. And can you make it stick? Neil Gardner says, it's not going to happen today. John Simpson will have to try again a bit later. Surprisingly,
I have suspicion Daniel Stevens has been deliberately trying to back up some of the GR86s, letting Merritt and Baker get ahead. See what the speed difference is in the different parts of the racetrack between the MX-5 and the Clio. Straight line speed, I don't have a particularly good read on, but I think it might just belong in the middle part of the straight to the Clio. But then their fifth gear is quite short. They can run out of legs at the very end of a straight, even if their flat power curve and turbocharged engine does pretty well for them, accelerating sort of from 100 through 200 k's an hour.
Yeah, it certainly has helped as well. And I think the 86 might have given the Clio the little push along. But look at this battle here now, as Brent Wassel, unfortunately, having to battle with his old mate Sean Doyle, who's back up into 5th. So Sean Doyle now, unfortunately, after that blunder in the pits, has now come back up to 5th, and will now have a look at the Mustang Brigade he has in front of him now. Adrian Duke coming around the corner. Wayne Taylor up to 8th at the moment.
The gang's together. Wayne Taylor, Gavin Cox, Colin Bruns, all of the MFR GR86s formation flying. It's like before the grand final, all of these, Toyotas doing the lap.
And that seems to
be where do you want to be? I've got to leave your teammate a little bit more space at this Christmas party?
Yeah, I think if there was anything happening between the three of them, I don't think they'll be on each other's Christmas cards if anything were to happen between the three of them. As we take a look now here, look at the front here. Look at Sean Doyle up onto the back of Dan Stevens. I think he's had enough. I think you're right. I think Dan Stevens was holding him up, and Sean Doyle's going to say no, thank you. But here we go, straight line speed, perfect view. Oh, a little bit of door to door there, wing mirror to wing mirror. And Brent Wassel now, the slipstreams helped him out now to move up towards the back of Sean Doyle, and we'll have to try again to try and get past Dan Stevens now.
It's been amazing for John Merritt. He's now 4 seconds clear of the next GR86. He'll know he's on a very similar strategy to all of the other Mustangs. He won't get undercut by the shorter pit stop of these GR86s if he can keep that 4 or 5 seconds, but into coagulate here. You saw Brent Wassel's like, all right, well, I'll push Sean Doyle if he's going to be the one that can move us forward. Cam Southall, we said, was very strong in the first stint, but started from the back of the grid, so the safety cars brought him and his GR86 back into the picture here as well.
Yeah, it's really jumbled up the grid here, this competition caution that we just had, and you can see just how much effort, there we go, look at that, just how much Sean Doyle's willing to push. And look at Brent wants in on the action as well. See if the move can be made. Wonder if Brent and Sean might try and work together and see if they can displace the Dan Stevens Mustang. Coming down into MG, Sean at the inside. And gets it done. Almost a bit of contact there between the two. And you can see now Dan is now having to pull back a little bit. So he's got Brent Wassel to deal with. Sean Doyle now will put the foot down and the focus up ahead. Tony Baker's his next target. Here comes Brent Wassel in the 86. Up the inside of the Mustang. And it's another side-by-side battle. We all know how this one's going to end. But we'll see if this will help. Look at Dan Stevens now shoots to driver's left. Round the outside of Sean Doyle. He's not very happy. He put his wipers on.
Might have meant to flash his headlights. Now, there's a difference in the gearbox as well between these cars. The Mustangs are traditional 3 pedals H pattern. The race Toyota GR86 in the US gets a sequential gearbox, and they're a bit of touch, bit of rub on the exit of the southern loop. Stevens was just on the radio letting some of the other drivers know that he's actually struggling to get into some of the gears sometimes as he's making those changes. So he actually bogged down on a couple of the exits when he couldn't find the gear that he was after. But when he's got one, the Mustang pulls, but the GR86s are giving him no space for free. Wassel's going to squeeze in around the outside of Siberia, and then getting into the rear quarter panel comes Sean Doyle. Jay Harvey has boxed out Cam Southall, so Harvey is trying to get in and amongst this battle as well.
So I think Harvey's also maybe found a second gear in that car as well. And Dan Stevens, you can see, has been displaced by Cam Southwell. I don't think we'll let this one go. He was on a charge at the start of this one. You can see just how much pressure these 86s are putting on the Mustang of Dan Stevens. Dan is struggling through there. Out of MG now, coming to the last corner at this stage. So Jay Harvey will be looking for a move. And just focusing back on the Class 2, I just see here now John Simpson has got the lead now. He's got the lead by more than half a second there. So John Simpson, that looks like a feel-good story for him at this stage. Looking back now at Dan Stevens here, he's found another one. Look at that. Oh, crisscrossing his way through the top 2 in the 86 class. And, that's a bit close there. Bit sketchy. And Sean Doyle will tuck him back behind Dan Stevens now. And you can see there the brake lights come on. Help with a bit of rotation there. Dan Stevens out of turn 2. Look at the moves going on behind him. So everyone's back and forth all over the place. Dan Stevens now up around the outside. And has gone through. Up into 4th place at this stage. Right, so unfortunately it seems we have lost David Haynes. Not too sure what's gone on there. We haven't really seen much in terms of it. So unfortunately lost David for a bit. But we'll just keep an eye on this battle here. As you can see now, the 86s are fighting through, trying to get past Dan Stevens, and Dan might still be having trouble with the gear selection in his car. And this is a perfect little view, the little helicopter shot we've got going on here, thanks to our producer. Here we go now, just taking a look here. Oh, back on the brakes there. That's a heavy brake in there for Dan Stevens there. I'm not too sure what's going on there. That was going onto a straight. So a bit of a situation there with Dan. Look at that. Look at that 86 brigade. Just bit of a contact there. I don't think Brent is. I think Brent Wansel might be on a bit of a man on a mission here, making sure that Jay doesn't get past him. And this is now becoming a bit of a battle here. There's still a bit of a battle here now. Dan Stevens now, Sean Doyle, Brent Wansel, and the rest of the 86 army right behind Dan Stevens. If Dan Stevens is meant to be playing blocker, he's blocking it very well. Certainly, or you can see how these 86s are going through here. Much more nimble, not as much power as the Ford Mustangs. You can see now just how much of a angry pack we have going on here. So 33 minutes left in this race. We've had a few lead changes, a competition caution, and of course we've now seen how the cars are going through here. One of the A6s running very, very wide. That was close. That was super, super close. We got one almost going around. One going around. Cam Southwell has gone around, has gathered it back up, and has carried on out of turn 2. So that was a close one there. Bit of having to have a look at the might have to have a look at some replays there and see what happened there. It looks as though Jay Harvey as well, unfortunately, getting tangled up, so has dropped a few positions as well. And this is becoming now, I think everyone's now starting to see where they're at in terms of tires, in terms of strategy. For everything to happen now, we've got 11 laps in so far after the last lot of pit stops. So I think we're not too far away from seeing maybe the last of the pit stops coming in now, or maybe even the second to last pit stops, depending on how the drivers can save tires. Or MFR going out of there. See Sean Doyle now up on the back there of Dan Stevens, coming through. Down towards the front straightaway, complete another lap. 31 minutes and a half left in this one. The side-by-side battle here. Jay Harvey up on the side-by-side battle there. I think it was Colin Bruns that he was having the fight with, and has made it up. Colin Bruns has gone down another one. So it looks as though the battle now still continues in the 86 league. The drivers now seem to be keeping it a little bit more calm in the sense of just not pushing too hard. Potentially one more stop coming in. And just an update on Class 2, Michael Voss has climbed up to about 4th position in class, so he's climbed up a bit more. Unfortunately, having that spin at turn 2 earlier. There he is there. All by his lonesome, has slowly made his way back up through the field. He's got 30 minutes left to catch the rest of his class. And look at this. Brody Shepherd now up the inside. And John Simpson says, thank you very much. I'll go right directly past you. So Brody Shepherd now behind John Simpson there. We've got another 86 in the mix. And then we've got a couple of MX-5s in there as well. So that'll be Neil Gardner and Nick Wood up the back there as well. So a bit of the Class 1 and Class 2 cars mixing it in at the moment here. On board with John Simpson. See just how the battle packs are rising here. There we go. Look at that. 86s all coming through. And we'll be looking for a way past at this moment. Here we go. Down towards 3 and 4. And has made its way through there. So John Simpson now will lose not any positions on track, but we'll go down a little bit with the 86s there as David Haynes has found his way back into the comms box. You got me there, David?
I have a hot dog.
Nice. Well, you haven't missed much here, David. We've had some really good battles here between the 86s fighting behind Dan Stevens. And unfortunately, one of our 86s has unfortunately had a bit of a whoops, but is now back onto the track. It was Cam Southall. Unfortunately, had a bit of a whoops at turn 2, but he's back on.
This battling for the GR86s hasn't been especially kind to them, as Sean Doyle is now 13 seconds behind race leader John Merritt. Once he could break the toe to the GR86s, it seems like he had just a tiny bit more race pace. Across the first stint, he wasn't able to do it. We're now 13 laps into this stint. Maximum fuel range and green flag laps are sort of 15 to 16 laps for most cars, and we're about to be 16 laps to go when they cross the start-finish line next time. It's approaching that critical lap number.
Yeah, I was just seeing earlier if we could be closing in on that critical lap. We're only 14 laps now through this since the last pit stops have happened, and I assume we're about to be one more stop away from the end of this one. You can see how the 86s now are still climbing onto the back of Dan Stevens. So Dan seems to have seems to be losing those gears, as you said earlier, and then seems to be finding them again at just the right moment, that they just cannot make their way past that Mustang, and he is holding them up big time. You can see now the 86s are again a little bit frustrated here now. Sean Doyle with the wipers on once again. I think he might have his buttons set a little bit different to what he wanted, and you can see there now the 86s now going through. Brent Wassell up on the inside of Dan Stevens will get past for now, and then we'll see what happens at the end of the main straightaway.
I'm working on a theory that Sean Doyle has his wipers bound to the same button as his push to talk. This is where Daniel Stevens makes life annoying for them all once again as he opens up the taps on the V8 Ford Mustang, pulls a couple of car lengths on him down the straight, and then parks it to the inside at almost every available corner. He's doing it at MG. He'll no doubt do it again everywhere else. John Merritt, Adrian Duke, and Tony Baker will owe him a Christmas bonus.
Yeah, I'm starting to think Dan Stevens is going to get something potentially iRacing related, or if not, maybe something else to say thank you for playing blocker to the 86ers here today in this Ozicar tin top Christmas round here at Phillip Island. And you can just see how much effort he's putting into it, trying to make sure that he can get back up to speed as much as he can. And you can just see, oh, one of the 86ers running a bit wide there. That might have been Colin Bruns. And you can just see how the drivers are trying to find their way through on Dan Stevens here, coming up towards Hayshed and Lukey Heights. See if the just saw the bright coloured Mustang there of Tony Baker going through shot. Let's see how much effort these cars are putting in.
John Simpson still leading that Class 2, and he's managed to put a little bit of time into his nearest rival as you've got GR86s heading for the pit lane for their final pit stop of the race. The one and only Renault is leading class, and it seems like the pit stop times are very competitive for this Renault as well. It is very, very economical, more so than the GR86. It's got the smallest engine in the field. The Ford Mustang's got 4.6 litres, Toyota's got 2.4 litres, the Mazda's got 2 litres, and this Renault has got 1.3, but with a turbocharger on it. Gavin Cox, Sean Doyle in the pit lane. So Doyle was probably the highest running driver that's now made their final stop. 15 laps to go is the prediction.
See what the times do here. Look at the timer there, 11 seconds for a couple of the 86s. Brady Shepherd with a 12.9. We'll see what the Mustang Brigade can do with 23 minutes left in this one. There you go, here's Sean Doyle now, fresh out of the pit lane. Think he might have enough. Thinks he might have enough in the tank and on those tires to make it through to the end. With the time left in this one, some of the MX5 Brigade is in the lane here. Here we go, John Merritt now out of MG. Let's see what he can do, and he's going to go around for another one.
Couple of those MX5s that have just made their final stop exiting in front of him, soon to go a lap down. Daniel Stevens has been mobbed a little bit here, but he's headed to pit lane for his final stop. Down to 72 k's an hour is the pit lane speed limit now at Phillip Island. Relatively short pit lane, but the delta is still costly. It's how fast the main straight is and how long you have to still wait to get up to speed all the way to about turn 2. No jacks movement, so no tyres going on for Stevens.
Yeah, they even looked at Tony Baker up ahead of him as well. Also didn't go up on the jacks, so maybe no tyres for him either. I think they might be comfortable with where they are in terms of tyre wear on those Mustangs. And you can see now just here Jay Harvey chasing down Brent Wassell for position. And there, look at that, looking down the left there, just got pointed this out. Look at the time loss there. So John Merritt now leading this race. Brent Wassell and Jay Harvey 15 seconds behind our leader. So that being stuck behind Dan Stevens, unfortunately, has pulled back that gap, or has extended that gap out to what it is now. So that has definitely helped John Merritt here. The Mustang boys helping out. And you can see if John is going to come into the lane. There we go. Into the lane he comes. Up to the line. Slam on the brakes. And into the pits he comes. See if he will take some tyres.
So So with 13 laps to go, he's not going to need a full tank here. And that also dissuades you from wanting to take tyres at this final stop as well, because you want it to be just a little bit shorter if you can manage. Adrian Duke follows him in, also hits his pit stall. And yeah, it looks like it's been 16 laps since the last pit stop. So everyone is coming in with 20 to go. Stop's done for Merritt, 17 seconds, so only fractionally quicker than his other pit stops. That Mustang will race up to speed. John Merritt will retain the lead of the race.
Yeah, just a little notice at the top of the screen there, Jim DeLeos with a black flag, unfortunately. Might be speeding the pit lane. Look at that. We actually got a few here. Looking down at Neil Gardner as well, also with a black flag. There might have
been an unsafe pit entry. I saw two cars side by side approaching the pit entry, and maybe they've mind games each other, trying to outbrake the other one on pit entry, and they have been caught speeding. So I will take a look at a few of them that happened. Okay, yes, Delios has got Gardner following him in. Gardner's like, oh, I'm going to go for the inside here, and then I think, oh no, he might just get hit and sent speeding on the pit entry, with Gardner approaching behind him, perhaps blindsided to the cones that start the pit entry.
Yeah, that's a bit unfortunate. Here we go, on board with Neil Gardner in the MX-5. Yep, right there.
Yeah, the Gardner doesn't have his limiter, so you see him perhaps looking in his mirrors more than looking for his limiter. Someone, Ryan, overshot their box. So a bit of drama at the final pit stop of the race for John Merritt. He's looking very well placed, 6 seconds clear of what will be net second place Adrian Duke. There's a couple of other cars like Doyle and Gavin Cox that still need to make their pit stops, but Tony Baker and Wayne Taylor have made their final.
Just looking down now, Nick Wood in Class 2 is currently leading with a 30-second gap to John Simpson, and he's...
So Doyle's made his final stop. He just didn't change tyres, so it's confused my graphic there. So yeah, quick final stop from some of those GR86s. They've jumped Tony Baker, they've jumped Daniel Stevens, but it had been such a costly previous stint from them.
Yes, unfortunately, this has now turned into what is now going to be essentially a race to see how far up Sean Doyle can get up to the back of one of the Mustangs. Well, given the gap and given how quick the Mustangs are in a straight line, I think they might be a little bit difficult here. But we look at Sean Doyle and Gavin Cox now fighting it out down into turn 4. And nothing so far. So Gavin Cox now will just have to wait and see if he can make a move. Wait to see if Sean would make a mistake. But Sean's been driving very well throughout this one. We look about up and down the order. Brent Wassell now down in 10th. Still has the fastest lap of this race. And he is unfortunately still seeing the rear of Dan Stevens' Mustang. I think he's starting to get a little sick of that view.
Yep. An interesting little part of the rear view of the Mustang is that it's the American spec tail lights, not the Australian ones that have an orange turn signal indicator bulb in them. Yeah, he's been a real thorn in the side of a lot of these GR86s. And for Wassell, maybe if he'd had a quicker stop, I think Wassell might have changed tyres, because he's had a 20-second stop while everyone else has had an 11-second stop. So Doyle, Gavin Cox, Jay Harvey, they're all clear of the Stevens menace. But Brent Wassell, with a long stop, is right back in his least favourite place.
Yeah, I think wouldn't that be the case if you also Brent as well? As Stevens goes past Colin Bruns, making his way through. And yeah, I think Brent, unfortunately, with the run he had at the start of this one, will no doubt be a little bit kicking himself with the fact that he's battled behind Stevens, tried his best to get past him. Sean Doyle's had a chance to get past him, and unfortunately, like you said, David, those long stops unfortunately have unfortunately caused him to be stuck behind Stevens for this last little bit of the race.
And bronze is what medal they give you if you finish third in New Zealand.
I'm not even going to try and respond to that one, David. Please don't.
Yeah, I mean, that's just always something new. Always something new from me. Never retread the same steps. Don't let them know what your next move is going to be. For third place on the net racetrack right now, Sean Doyle versus Gavin Cox. So without a Ford Mustang in and amongst it, this is a super exciting racetrack to see GR86's race, because we know how powerful the slipstream effect is at Phillip Island with this very fast final corner, long front straight, fast turn one. Any sort of slipstream heavy car is always going to be exciting here at Phillip Island. And when you see a GR86 versus GR86 in otherwise clean air, this could be thrilling. Nick Wood pits in. He was one of the last cars we were waiting to see come out of that group. And we've had almost everyone make their final pit stop now.
Yeah, so it's basically a race to the end now. 15 minutes to go in this one. We'll see if now Sean Doyle and Gavin Cox now have been racing very well throughout this one. So we'll see if they can provide us with some great race action to end off with this race. And you can see now how much battling they've done here. I think Sean's just about drained. He's battled all race.
Dan Stevens, he's been turned by Wassel. How much can a man take before he breaks? We've seen that side by side exiting Siberia, I think that is. No, that was the exit of Southern Loop that the two have come together, and Daniel Stevens has gone around. So Stevens gets a bit of a slide on. Wassel gets to the inside and then pushes wide into the rear quarter of Daniel Stevens. Stevens isn't completely under control, but neither is Wassel, and as they come together, Stevens gets spun off the road.
So look here at the onboard here. See just how much of a slide. Oh, there you go. That'll do it. So Dan Stevens exit stage left, and Brent might be I don't know if he'd be angry with himself or if he'd be relieved to not have a Mustang in his way.
Now Tony Baker's spun.
Oh, okay.
Of MG, he's just gone for a 360. He's going to rejoin behind this group. They've all just passed him. Now, has he done that himself? Are the rear tyres beginning to give way on the Ford Mustangs? All of their pit stops, I think, have been too short to comfortably take new tyres. As he's tried to cross over under, he's lit it up. And he's done it all himself.
Yeah, I think I think those tyres are starting to scream for mercy now. If that's the case now, yeah, those stops were rather short for the Mustangs. I think those tyres might be starting to cry for help now. Looking back.
Take a look at the track temperature too. I called it out at the start of the race as 26 degrees Celsius. It's now up to 38. So the track's gotten way, way hotter.
Yeah, those tyres will definitely be suffering now with how hot these conditions have been in this race. And as you said, it started at 26, but now it's gone up to 38. So that is going to cook these tyres, that's for sure.
It's too hot to walk your dog outside. That's usually the measurement I go for. The rule of thumb is put the back of your hand on the pavement, and if you can't hold it there for 10 seconds, don't walk your dog. Well, we're talking about tyres, not pets, but you've got to look after both of them.
Yeah, certainly have to, and you can see now, I don't know if the Mustangs or the A6s or any of these cars might try and look after those tyres a bit more now that they can see what the track is doing for these tyres. But look at this battle here. This Sean Doyle and Gavin Cox battle has not lifted at all. They are still nose to tail, and I think this is what you were talking about earlier, David. The battles with 86s and Phillip Island, it makes for great racing.
Yeah, and even with an extra power restriction on these GR86s, the slipstream's even more powerful, GR86 versus GR86. Gavin Cox has got to look around the outside of turn one. Doyle's parked himself on the racing line and is not going to see any change happen there. Race Control have just ordered Brent Wassel to redress to Daniel Stevens. So Wassel is going to have to give up 6 or 7 seconds and sit behind Daniel Stevens.
Oh, that is just gonna bite him hard. I think he will be pretty upset. I think he'll be pretty upset with himself. He'll be kicking himself right there now, because now he's done all that work to try and get past Dan Stevens, and unfortunately gets a slap on the wrist for that one. So you can see there he's got 4 cars in between himself, 3 or 4 cars in between himself and Dan Stevens now. So how quickly and safely can he do this?
Now he might wait for the front straight so he can comfortably pull out of the way, because he's going to have to lift a long way out of the throttle to give up that many positions and that much time. And if you're going to do that, it is a drastic maneuver that you're going to have to pull. You might wait for the front straight where it'll feel safer to do so.
Yeah, the front straightaway I think might be his best chance. Oh, he's holding up Colin Bruns here. There you go. He's might just pull over now. Bit of a contact there. I think not too sure if Brent's had the message.
Oh, he has. He's discussed with race control.
Oh, there you go.
We'll see exactly what time that takes place. Under 10 minutes to go. Still predicting 6 more laps with 5 or 6. We'll see, with John Merritt in the lead by almost 10 seconds. That sure looks like. I don't know what that looks like.
Yeah, I'm thinking Brent might try and pull a Cam Waters, if you will. Might try and back him up and wait till the Mustang gets close, then let him pass. But we'll see if that holds any merit. Look at Brent here. Is he blocking? It looks like he's just not letting runs through. Nope. There you go.
Well, they've slipstreamed past him. He hasn't lifted out of the throttle. He's still braking deep as he can into the Miller hairpin here on the inside, with Brody Shepherd also joining the fight. It'll be tough to keep 2 cars behind. Shepherd's gone to the inside of Bruns there, through Siberia, and then around the outside through Siberia.
Yeah, this fighting here has. Not too sure how much longer Brent has to redress that position with Stevens. And you can see in the background there, Baker and Stevens now are trying to catch up to this field.
Stevens has made his job a little bit easier, because Stevens has just passed Tony Baker. So now there's 1 fewer spots that Wassel will be instructed to give up.
Yeah, that's true there. I'm just wanting to see if... look at this now, Tony Baker now. He wants to come back against Stevens here, side by side through the final corner. Down the front straightaway, so there's a bit of a drag race happening between the Mustangs. And still looking like we're waiting on the redress.
And it's been upgraded to a drive-through penalty.
Oh, okay, so that answers my question from earlier as to how long Brent had to redress that one. So now I've just been answered that one. And
so that'll bring him out of that. Bruns will go up into 7th. And I think the delta is about 20-25 seconds is the cost of a drive-through penalty here at Phillip Island. Just as we were talking about track temperature, watch a nice little cloud come over the racetrack. That'll be a bit of respite if your rear tyres on your Ford Mustang are absolutely roasting and crying enough under the torque of a monstrous 4.6 litre Ford modular V8.
Yeah, I think Tony's tyres for sure will want to breathe a sigh of relief, but I think also for John Merritt and Adrian Duke as well up there in 1st and 2nd. So this has been one hell of a race. Just under 7 minutes to go. Just see how much cloud cover's now come over this track here, David. I think you're right. I think it's going to be a nice cooler afternoon for the drivers.
Track temp down to 33 degrees Celsius. So that's the yo-yo, as high as 38 and then down. Brent Wassel is going to take his drive-through penalty. So he's in the pit entry. Our 2 Mustangs are out on track here, about to open the taps onto the front straight. So they'll go up a spot. Daniel Stevens into 9th, Tony Baker into 10th.
Back up to the top there. Brent Wassel, by the way, still with the fastest lap of the race. No one's been able to clinch that off of him. So still holding that one from the start.
Drive through, but he stopped in his box.
Might be looking to truck on some fresh tyres potentially.
Well, yeah, not sure. Not sure. John Merritt's still got 10 seconds in his back pocket. Sean Doyle's battling to be the best Toyota GR86. He's just been door-to-door with Gavin Cox for what's going to be 3rd place, both in class and outright. Wayne Taylor and Jay Harvey are going to battle for 5th. And things are going well for John Simpson, the Renault, leading Class 2 and also in the 12th outright with Cam Southall between himself and Nick Wood and Michael Vos.
Yeah, so a big mixed field of what we had compared to the start of this one. And you can see now just Dan Stevens now trying to fly through now. Tony Baker following suit. And you can see just them coming through. Brent Wassel has cleared the drive-through, but has also taken a bit of a stop as well. He's still in the lane, is he? Yeah, he is.
He's not in the server.
He's not.
He's not in the track. He's not in Phillip Island. He's not in Victoria.
Okay, so I think he's had it. I think he's unfortunately had enough now. So unfortunately, losing Brent Wassel here.
So just a couple of little battle packs to play out to the end. We are very confident that everyone's made their final pit stop. Doyle versus Gavin Cox together 3rd, Taylor versus Harvey for 5th, and then of course Daniel Stevens versus Tony Baker here 9th and 10th. A few of the Mazdas were a tiny bit closer for 2nd and 3rd, but a few things have spread out. This is Harvey versus Taylor. They've gone back and forth through the Miller hairpin for this spot. Harvey ahead of Taylor at the moment.
Yeah, this battle has been raging as well as far as we can see here. Look at the timing tower. You can see how close these two have been. And this battle has been going on for some time. Almost as big as the Doyle-Cox battle as well. So this is a battle for third in the Toyota brigade, if you want to call it that. So not 3rd in class, 3rd in the Toyota. If you want to just split the classes up, it's 3rd in Toyota. And you can see just how Harvey is now trying to slowly pull away, but the slipstream here is very big. Wayne Taylor up on the rear of Jay Harvey, and that's all he has to worry about. He's got no one behind him.
So you're slipstreaming GR86 battles over the crest of the front straight. Doyle with Cox in his slipstream. Harvey with Taylor sitting in his slipstream, and they are just about 4 seconds apart. So if things get too messy between Doyle and Cox, there's always someone who gets too messy at the Christmas party.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the case with any Christmas party.
I thought you were going to say, unfortunately, that's me.
No, unfortunately, that's not me. I'm a very clean bloke. But you can see now the battle is just absolutely flying through here with 2 minutes left to go. And you can see Doyle and Cox just up ahead of getting in amongst the MX5 club. You can see now, let's just see where they are sitting. Alright, so they've cleared the MX5s now. There's an MX5 up ahead of Jay Harvey.
So looking at the stopwatch, we're doing lap times a minute 44. There's a minute 30 on the clock. John Merritt crosses the start-finish line. He will receive the white flag. Barney's waving it. You can see it. So one more lap of Phillip Island. John Merritt has played this race tactically brilliantly. He's been quick when he needed to be. He toyed with the GR86s when he could, and he made best use of the advantages that the Mustang has got from the standing start, from the safety car restart, and accelerating out of the pit box. The V8 looks like it'll come out on top.
Gibbs nose clean there. He's got an 11-second gap to Adrian Duke as well. We look at the battle back here for third overall. And look at Gavin Cox now pulling out for a gap. He's side by side now. Well, no! It's happened!
It's messy at the Christmas party. Sean Doyle's gone into the inside wall.
Oh, no!
Gavin Cox will hold on to third by the looks of things, but Jay Harvey and Wayne Taylor come through. Adrian Duke serenely sailing towards his second place, but who closed the door on who? Both of them pushed a little wide out of the southern loop, and then the turn 3 kink towards the big braking zone. The two GR86s have come together. Through MG corner goes John Merritt, the checkered flag waiting for him momentarily. Is he going to put one more car a lap down in today's hour 45-minute race? Perhaps, perhaps not. We see how fast the Mustang is out of these final corners and down the straight. From apex here is the Mustang hunting zone, and it's where John Merritt has been untouchable. He floors it towards the checkered flag and towards the race win in the Ozicar Tin Top Christmas Cup.
Congratulations to John Merritt, has held off a great battle here. We look back at Adrian Duke for second. So that is the second Mustang to come across the line and take second. Gavin Cox for third. But I don't want to celebrate too early. We did see that contact with Sean Doyle. We'll see if anything comes of that. And Sean Doyle's now has gone off there. He's driving a battered 86 around to finish this one. Look at that tire. That car has just seen better days. John Simpson coming around to finish ahead in Class 2. So from unfortunate events on lap 1, putting him a lap down, he's now won Class 2. So good on John Simpson for that one.
The only Renault Clio and some other drivers will be thinking, maybe I should have picked that one. Second in that class is going to be Nick Wood, and the only car on the same lap as them in that class. Along comes Michael Voss, and he'll get his Mazda into third. A couple of retirements, a couple of lap down cars, and as they all come towards the checkered flag, I've got a feeling our race winner is about to chuck some donuts. I think there's a few people loosening their tie. No, I was thinking the middle finger racing drivers, in fact, actually. John Merritt is being so sensible. He's not the messy one at the Christmas party.
Yeah, John Merritt, I think, has decided to call it from there. Here we go. Look at the replay.
Need another angle. Yeah, like this.
Jeez. I don't even know how you want to call that one, David. I'm just going to sit back and let the stewards call that one. That was messy.
It's another one of those ones you go, I think both of them could have been a car width, half a car width further apart. And they're both sort of pointing to the same bit of the track there. Oh, well, we can look to see the finishing order as they've finished the race. And it's John Merritt, 12 seconds ahead of Adrian Duke. The best Toyota in third place, Gavin Cox. Jay Harvey in fourth. Wayne Taylor crossing the line in fifth. Brody Shepherd up into sixth there. Colin Bruns in seventh. Daniel Stevens will be the most positions gained in the race from no qualifying time. He finishes 8th from 24th to 8th. Tony Baker in 9th. Stephen O'Brien completing top 10. Sean Doyle limped a 3-wheeled Toyota GR86 to the checkered flag. I didn't even know that 86 was evenly divisible by 4. And then John Simpson wins Class 2. Cam Southall finishes 13th there. Nick Wood in 14th. Michael Voss in 15th. Third, completing the podium in that class. Jim Delios, last car to finish on the lead lap. Phil King, 1 lap down. Warren Henry, 2 laps down. Dominic Barnes, having served some penalties, 3 laps down. Brent Wassell retiring with 5 laps to go. And then we're deeper into the rest of the retirements. Neil Gardner, Luke Cincotta, John Snell, Craig Fraser, Alex Zikas. That was everyone. Race control needing to do a little bit more work than they might have liked, but running everything smoothly with this hour 45-minute race that had the compulsory pit stop in it. Brandon, can you spot anyone that you'd like to speak to post-race?
Oh, I wouldn't mind having a word with maybe even John Merritt if he's available, or maybe even Sean Doyle or Gavin Cox, because that was massive. Well, John, first of all, mate, good win. Congratulations on that one. But it was you versus the 86 Army, and you come out on top.
Yeah, the little bees were after me for sure, but I had the cubic inch advantage.
Yeah, you certainly did. That was one battle that we were looking forward to, and the battle that you had. I mean, Brent Wassell was on you the entire time. So was Sean Doyle. So you had more than one tough contender to deal with. But I mean, that Mustang, you certainly knew how to throw it around.
Yeah, I think after we pitted the first time, I thought I'll try and save some fuel to give an advantage on the next stop. So I sort of just parked myself in the pack of the 86s, but the debate was whether to take tyres or not, and managed to get through without. And that safety car restart with a nice long straight was in the Mustang favour.
It certainly was. Now, just one more thing. It's Dan Stevens has played blocker for you guys, because it was you, Adrian Duke, and Troy going up. Tony Baker going up to the. Going up ahead, and Dan Stevens, unfortunately with his issues, has blocked up the 86s. Any idea on what to get him for Christmas from you guys as a thank you for the win?
Yeah, I think we owe him a beer or 3 for that. A couple of the guys were like, "Oh, these Mustangs, I can't get past them." So I think I gave him the old, no substitution for cubes, guys. Sorry, in the game.
Absolutely brilliant, mate. Well, just anyone you want to thank before we let you go for this one?
Just the encouragement of the Pulse boys to get me back on. I haven't been on the rig for 3 months. It's first race back, so it was good fun.
Well, first race back in a race one, mate. Congratulations.
No, thank you. Merry Christmas, and appreciate it. Thanks R and SimSpeed for the broadcast.
Same to you, mate.
Cheers.
There's our Christmas address from Pope John Merritt. We'll get to some of the archbishops now. Adrian Duke finished second, starting from 8th on the grid. Talk us through your race.
My race, I don't know, I was kind of left on my own for a while. After the first start, I made it up to 5th, pretty much on the start, thanks to the Mustang's extra power over the 86. And then, I was just by myself until the safety car. And once again, the Mustang's engine helped me out, get past the 86s, and I was stuck behind Tony for a little bit, but he seemed to be having trouble getting his tyres warmed, and got past him, and then I was on my own again. And so it was kind of a lonely race with a couple of little exciting bits.
When you were a little bit more pack and wheel to wheel, did you notice anything else about sort of the relative strengths and weaknesses of your Mustang versus the other cars?
The 86 was a lot better around the corners, and actually that whole first stint before the safety car, it looked pretty even with the top 4. I could see they were lapping about the same as John. I don't know if they were doing that by drafting each other, or if the car was pretty even. Mainly the Mustang was super fast on the straight and slow in the corners. That's about it.
Interesting to note that your pit stops were also a little bit longer, a little bit thirstier. Speaking of thirsty, what flavour of coffee were you powered by today?
I actually live next door to a cafe that roasts their own beans. They're called Good Hustle Coffee. Not sponsored by them, but I usually get theirs. It tastes good.
Awesome. thank you for participating in this special event. Thank you for coming to chat with us, and hope that the rest of your Christmas is less lonely than some of your stints today.
Thanks. Yeah, Christmas will be good. Merry Christmas to all you guys, and Ira putting on the event. I'll see you next year.
Adrian Duke finishing second, and Brandon, I think we're finally going to get to hear the opposite side of the coin from our best placed Toyota GR86 driver.
Yeah, Gavin Cox, congratulations. Third place on the overall standings, but first to the 86 Brigade. How was that one for you?
It was quite good in the end. Tough battle there at the end with Sean Doyle. He was just a bit unlucky there, I thought. But loved the 86. First time I've actually really raced it, so it was super enjoyable.
Yeah, it certainly is. It was a good battle to watch between yourself and Sean. I mean, the Mustangs versus 86s is what was the big discussion all race long. Getting caught behind Dan Stevens there a little bit as well about mid-race after the safety car was a bit of a tough one there. But of course, you came back and fought it back, so good on you there, mate.
Yeah, thank you. I was just thought if I stuck with Dan, he might have been able to sort of lead us through the pack there a little bit, but he sort of didn't quite have the pace that he had early in the race. So, just a bit unfortunate.
Yeah, very unfortunate there. But I mean, battle with you and Sean was good. So I mean, at least you ended it up on a big high there. Anyone you want to thank before we let you go off and enjoy the rest of your Christmas?
Yeah, sure. Thanks you guys for putting the race on. It was a really good effort today. Just like to thank Indian Motorcycles and Polaris, their constant support, and Dan Stevens at Mad As Designs for all the skins he produces for our team, MFR. Cheers, guys.
Absolutely fantastic, mate. You have yourself a good Christmas, and we'll see you in the new year.
You too. Merry Christmas, guys.
Cheers.
Great to hear from all of our podium there. I'll share one more David Haynes thought with you. I'm constantly thinking about the fact that Polaris Off-Road and Polestar EVs are both named after the same star. Now, so a big thank you as we wrap up the year and the season. Ozicar Formula Skip Barber will be Ozicar's next season, and it will be an all Aussie calendar now that Adelaide's arriving. Thank you to Prestige Trophy Badge and Engraving and the No Social Hate campaign, their long-standing support. This is going to be SimSpeed's last broadcast of Ozicar. It's been a long journey with the community and with Ira. And so thank you so much for all the memories, all the racing, all the Monday nights, Wednesday nights. Thanks for being along this journey with us. And that's goodbye from Phillip Island and from SimSpeed TV. John Merritt wins Class 1. John Simpson wins Class 2 of the Ozicar Tin Top Christmas Cup. Happy New Year. Merry Christmas. We'll see you later.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.